Arsenal beat Sporting CP 1-0, but not everyone is happy about it. Here is what the pundits really said. Let us be honest with each other for a second. When Kai Havertz took that ball away in the 91st minute at the Estadio Jose Alvalade on Tuesday night, most of us exhaled like we had been holding our breath the entire game. Arsenal were in Lisbon facing a Sporting CP side that had barely lost at home all season in a Champions League quarter-final first leg, and they came away with a 1-0 win. That is not nothing. That is actually a really big deal. But then you go online, open Twitter, check the comment sections, read the pundit reactions, and suddenly it feels like Arsenal just scraped past a Sunday League team. Some people are satisfied, some people are worried, some people are saying almost nothing at all. And that range of reactions tells you a lot about where Arsenal are right now as a club and what this moment truly means. So let us break it all down together properly, honestly, and without the drama that the media loves to pile on. What actually happened in Lisbon before we get into what the pundits said. Let us just talk about the game itself because context matters here. Sporting CP are not an easy team to beat at home. Think about that for a moment. Before Arsenal showed up on Tuesday, Sporting had only lost one home game all season, and that was way back in August against Porto. They even beat Paris Saint-Germain in the Champions League earlier this season, PSG. So when people say Arsenal had a quiet, cautious night and sort of made it look boring, just remember who they were playing and where they were playing. Arsenal dominated large parts of the game. They kept the ball, they stayed organised, they did not panic, and they refused to give Sporting space to hit them on the break. Was it the most exciting football you will ever see? No. Was it the smart way to approach a first leg away from home in the Champions League? Absolutely yes. Then Havertz came off the bench and scored in the 91st minute to win it. A late winner away from home in Europe. That is the kind of result that clubs spend years trying to achieve. And yet the reaction was complicated. So let us look at who said what. Matthew Upson was delighted and said exactly what needed to be said of all the pundit reactions that came out after the game. Matthew Upson was the clearest and most positive. He did not hedge, he did not look for problems, he just called it like he saw it. Speaking on BBC Live, Upson praised the performance and said it was a massive win for Arsenal. He talked about how he would have been happy with a 0-0 draw heading back to the Emirates, so to actually win the game in the final minutes made it even better. He highlighted how Arsenal showed calmness throughout the game. They had a strong spine defensively, and he was especially pleased with the performance of goalkeeper David Raya. He called Raya fantastic on the night, praised the team for their calm and controlled display, and finished by saying it was a top job away from home. Now, here is the thing about Upson's reaction. It is not just positive noise. He actually watched the game and explained why the result mattered. He understood what Arsenal were trying to do tactically, and he recognised that they executed it well. A calm, controlled away performance in the Champions League quarter-finals is not boring football. It is smart football. It is winning football. Does that mean Arsenal were perfect? No. But Upson's reaction captures something important. This was a professional job by a team that knows how to win when it matters. Here is a question for you, Olivia's Sports Arsenal community. When you watch Arsenal in big European games, do you prefer them to be aggressive and exciting but risky, or calm and controlled but maybe a little slow to watch? Drop your thoughts in the comments because this debate never gets old. Thierry Henry said almost nothing, and that says everything. Now, this one is interesting, really interesting. After the final whistle, everyone on CBS Sports wanted to hear from Thierry Henry. He is an Arsenal legend. He loves the club. He knows what it takes to win at the highest level. Surely he would have plenty to say about a Champions League quarter-final away win. He said almost nothing. Presenter Kate Scott asked Henry what he felt about the performance and whether he was satisfied with how Arsenal played. His response, he told her that Arsenal won away from home and that he would talk at the end. That is it. That is all he said. Now, some people have been spinning that as Henry quietly acknowledging how important the result was. And maybe there is a tiny bit of truth in that. He did not criticise the result. He did not say Arsenal were poor. He just reserved his judgment. But let us be real about what this actually means. Thierry Henry is not a man who struggles to find words. He is one of the sharpest football minds in punditry right now. When he watches an Arsenal performance that genuinely excites him, you know about it. He talks, he smiles, he explains, he gets into details. The fact that he barely said a word after this win tells you that he was not fully satisfied with what he saw. He did not want to be negative about a result, so he chose to say nothing. He is holding his final verdict until the tie is over, until the Emirates game is played, and then he will give you the full picture. That is actually a really mature approach. But it is not the same as praise. Do not let anyone tell you Henry was glowing about this performance because he clearly was not ready to go there yet. Jamie Carragher has a big worry, and he is not hiding it. If Upson was the positive voice and Henry was the silent one, then Jamie Carragher was the one willing to say what many Arsenal fans are feeling, but perhaps do not want to admit. Carragher appeared on CBS Sports and made no attempt to hide the fact that he is worried about Arsenal right now, not just about football, but about the mentality inside the club. He started by talking about Arsenal fans and how he can feel real fear creeping into the fan base. He shared a moment where he was at his bank and someone asked if they could ask him a question, and he immediately knew the person was an Arsenal fan. He said no other fan would approach him like that right now because the anxiety among Arsenal supporters is palpable. He said he ended up spending time almost like a counsellor, giving encouragement to this fan who was scared everything was going to fall apart. But here is where it got really serious. Carragher said his biggest worry was not about the fans. His biggest worry was whether that same fear was spreading inside the Arsenal Football Club itself. He pointed to something specific. Arsenal recalled 11 players early from international duty during the recent break. Carragher said he had never heard of that happening before, and his reading of that decision was that it showed genuine fear within the club that they could blow their season at the worst possible moment. Think about that for a second. 11 players brought back early. That is not a small thing. Clubs do not do that unless they are seriously concerned. Arsenal are still in a very strong position. They are competing at the top of the Premier League and they now have a first leg lead in the Champions League quarter-finals. On paper, things look good. But Carragher is suggesting that the people inside the club are not feeling as confident as the table might suggest, and that anxiety can be contagious if it is not managed properly. The Gunners had their quadruple dreams destroyed over the last 2 weeks. Defeats against Manchester City and Southampton knocked them out of the Carabao Cup and FA Cup. Suddenly, the season that looked so promising has been narrowed down to 2 major prizes, the Premier League and the Champions League. Lose either of those and this season could end without a single trophy. That is the pressure Carragher is talking about. And he is not trying to be dramatic. He is trying to be honest. What do you think, Arsenal community? Is Carragher being too negative here, or do you feel that same anxiety yourself? Be honest. We are all in this together. The wider media reaction and why it was unfair here is something worth addressing directly because it has been bothering a lot of people. The reaction to Arsenal's win from large parts of the media was quite negative. There were complaints about the style of play, about Arsenal being too cautious, about the football being dull or uninspiring. And while those conversations are valid on some level, they also miss the point completely. Champions League knockout football is different from Premier League football. The margins are smaller, the stakes are higher, and the teams you face are better. When you are playing the first leg of a quarter-final away from home, you do not come out and try to win 4-0. You stay organised, you pick your moments, and you make sure you do not concede. If you can nick a goal, wonderful. If you take a draw, that is still a solid result. Arsenal did better than a draw. They won. They scored a late goal away from home in Europe. They kept a clean sheet against a team that had beaten PSG this season. That is an excellent away performance by any reasonable measure. Criticising a team for being too disciplined in a Champions League away game is not smart analysis, it is just noise. And unfortunately, a lot of the media coverage around Arsenal right now is full of that noise, partly because the club has been going through a rocky period with the domestic cup exits. This is worth remembering. Sporting CP had only lost one home match all season before Arsenal came to Lisbon. One, and Arsenal went there and won. Give credit where it is due. What the Sporting manager said about David Raya. One thing that has not been talked about enough in the Arsenal discourse following this game is the reaction from the Sporting CP side. Their manager was asked about David Raya after the match, and what he said was genuinely interesting. The fact that the opposition manager was speaking specifically about Raya tells you a lot about how the goalkeeper performed on the night. When an opposing coach takes time to highlight a goalkeeper after a match, it usually means that goalkeeper made a serious difference, and that is exactly what Raya did in Lisbon. Raya was arguably Arsenal's best player on the night. He made important saves, he commanded his area, he was calm under pressure, and he gave his defenders confidence throughout the game. Upson singled him out, the Sporting manager talked about him, the fans were singing his name. For a goalkeeper who faced questions when he first arrived at Arsenal about whether he was good enough for the level, Raya has been absolutely outstanding in big matches this season. This was another example of him stepping up when Arsenal needed him most. Where Arsenal go from here, the second leg is coming up at the Emirates, and Arsenal are in a fantastic position. A 1-0 lead means they can play with some freedom at home. They do not need to chase the game. They just need to be solid, stay organised and take their chances when they come. The Emirates is one of the most atmospheric grounds in Europe on a big Champions League night. Arsenal fans know how to create a special atmosphere, and with a lead coming into the second leg, that atmosphere is going to be electric. But Carragher's warning should not be ignored. If the anxiety he described starts to take over, if players start thinking too much about what they cannot afford to lose rather than what they want to win, that is when things can go wrong quickly. The mental side of football is just as important as the tactical side, and Arsenal need to approach the second leg with confidence, not fear. The Premier League title race is also heating up. Arsenal are in a strong position there too, but as Carragher noted, the next 2 weeks will tell a lot. Games against Bournemouth and then the big one against Manchester City are on the horizon. Those results will shape the rest of the season. So Arsenal fans, here is the real question. Do you trust Mikel Arteta to manage this moment? Do you believe this squad has the mental strength to push through and win something this season? After watching the Sporting CP win, do you feel more confident, or are you still carrying that anxiety Carragher was talking about? There is no wrong answer. These are real questions that real fans are wrestling with right now. The truth about this moment for Arsenal, let us bring it all together and be straight about where things stand. Arsenal beat Sporting CP 1-0 away from home in the Champions League quarter-final first leg. That is a genuinely good result. Matthew Upson was right to praise it. Raya was outstanding. Havertz came up with the big moment. The team showed defensive discipline and won ugly when they needed to. Thierry Henry reserved his judgment, which tells you he was not fully satisfied but was not willing to be negative about a good result either. He will talk at the end. That is fair enough. Jamie Carragher raised serious concerns about the anxiety creeping through the Arsenal fan base and potentially through the club itself. He pointed to the early recall of 11 internationals as evidence that the people inside the club are worried. That is a warning worth taking seriously. The wider media was too negative about the performance, ignoring the context of playing an away first leg in the Champions League against a team with a brilliant home record. That criticism was unfair, and now Arsenal have to go and finish the job. Second leg at the Emirates, home advantage, a lead to defend and build on, the chance to reach the Champions League semi-finals. This is the moment Arsenal fans have been waiting for. This is what all the progress under Arteta has been building towards. Everything is still in their hands, so support the team, believe in what they are building, and let us see if Arsenal can turn this good result into something truly historic. One last thing before you go there is one thing that sometimes gets lost in all the pundit talk, the media noise and the anxiety about results. Arsenal are in the Champions League quarter-finals. They are fighting for the Premier League title. They have a goalkeeper who opposition managers praise, a striker who scores late winners in Europe, and a manager who has steadily built one of the best squads in the country. However, this season ends, something real is being built at this club. The direction is right, even if the journey is bumpy. Enjoy the ride, Olivia Sports Arsenal community. The best might still be ahead of us. See you for the second leg at the Emirates. It is going to be special.